Hello, this is Dr. Mark Miravalle, Professor of Theology and Mariology from the Franciscan University of Steubenville in Steubenville, Ohio. I am here in Ireland with Anne, the lay apostle, and we will be speaking about the spiritual movement of the lay apostles of Jesus Christ, the returning King. It is important to keep in mind that all the messages that Anne has received have been released with the permission of the local bishop, Bishop Leo O'Reilly from the Diocese of Kilmore, Ireland, and have been submitted to the Vatican Congregation for the Doctrine of Faith for examination. Each and every dimension of this apostolate is completed in submission and in obedience to the local bishop and to the magisterium of the Catholic Church. And the call of John Paul II for this millennium and the beginning of this millennium was so strongly on the new evangelization, casting out the net, drawing in, and casting out deeply. And it shouldn't be a surprise that Jesus is also calling for the seeking of new souls. So let's go to this October 13th, 2004 message and hear the words of Jesus. And then comment on this. Our Lord tells us, and I quote, "I want my apostles to understand that I am always seeking new souls to join us. This group of workers who labor for souls must increase. We must pull as many as possible into the field of labor. In this way, we will bring many back into the safety of my Sacred Heart. How joyful is the service to heaven. Contemplate this fact often, dear servants. You are laboring hard, it is true, but not without success. My words and graces flow so powerfully into your world. All cynicism, all hatred cannot stand before my words. My words flow over cynicism and hatred and destroy these symptoms of darkness. Souls want to believe in me. Souls want to trust me. You are giving them the opportunity to do so by your example and by your life of service. My dear little workers, how you delight me. Truly, my just anger is abated by your humility and willingness. Do not be downhearted at the burdens you carry. You carry them for the kingdom, and each burden will win souls. Each soul is as precious as your soul. This should help you to understand my determination. I send you great courage today to sustain you in your mission." So a lot, Anne, about the mission, about overcoming symptoms of darkness, and the fidelity of success, as our Lord promises. Tell us about it, if you could.
Well, I like it. He says this group of workers who labor for souls must increase. So we, the nature of this apostolate is to grow, to gather more people as we go. We must pull as many as possible into the field of labor. Well, how do we do that? This is so important. I mean, how do we draw? You know, we draw, the biggest part of a successful attempt to draw others into the field of service is our joy. You know, we have to allow, our relationship with Jesus is joyful. And we have to constantly plug back into that. Now he says also, you have burdens. I know you have burdens. But he says, don't let them make you downhearted because I'm using your burdens. So if we could be connected more to the joy, we draw more people. And the other thing, how do we draw people? I don't think we draw them by cynicism. And Jesus says, no cynicism or hatred can stand before my words. So what happens is when you apply the words of Christ, it chips away, and eventually cynicism collapses. When you spend time with these words and with these graces, the cynicism begins to evaporate. It can't stand before the Lord's words, because these are the opposite of cynicism.
Right. And he does warn us about that possibility of cynicism and hatred, trying to attack these words, trying to attack this mission, but there's a great promise of victory. So that means if we come in contact with cynicism, that shouldn't surprise us. Our Lord told us that would happen, but that the graces and the power and the mission of this will overcome that.
Absolutely. Any Christian will encounter cynicism. Any Christian serving anywhere will encounter cynicism. You could be in living the life of a contemplative, and you would encounter cynicism.
Mm-hmm. Now, our Lord says, "We will bring many back into the safety of my Immaculate Heart." What is the safety of the Sacred Heart? Excuse me, the safety of the Sacred Heart.
I was checking my notes.
What is that safety of the Sacred Heart?
The divine will. It's the divine will. And the reason it's safe is because the Lord has constructed protective barriers around his divine will. If you strike out on your own outside of the divine will, in some ways, he can't provide you with the same protection. Mm-hmm. Jesus is the master at the plan B, as we always say, and he's a great cleanup guy when we've made a mess. There's probably a better word for this, but he'll follow us out and help us to pick up the pieces when we depart from the divine will. But if we stay in the divine will, connected to the Sacred Heart, that's where he can best protect us and our families, our interests, our intentions.
Mm-hmm. Now, he underscores another point which is really beautiful in a type of atonement, where he says, "Truly my just anger is abated by your humility and willingness." And this is a classical concept of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, that for those who offer reparation, either by specific acts or by general acts of love and sacrifice, this is like a balm to the heart of Jesus.
Right.
Speak to that as well.
Right. The sentence prior to that, he says, "You delight me." To see us accepting the graces that he's offering, to see us allowing him to make us holier, this delights him. And he can show this to the Father and say, "Look, I'm loved. I'm honored on earth. They want to participate in this plan. Let's give more graces all the time." Mm-hmm. Something interesting, that's something very beautiful here is he says, souls want to believe in me. Mm-hmm. Souls want to trust me. We crave this. And then he says, you are giving them the opportunity to believe in me and to trust me by your example. So this is an interior craving that every human being is struggling with. Mm-hmm. And so when we set an example of this, we don't have to be always talking to people, talking. We believe and we trust. They notice that, Mark, and then they have the opportunity. Then we give them kind of permission to also believe and trust.
Yeah. It's really a spiritual win-win, because as the heart of Jesus, it extends himself to every human heart. He wants every soul, and that means he makes himself vulnerable in that act as well. Mm-hmm. Love by its nature is vulnerable. Mm-hmm. If you're going to love someone, you risk the possibility of rejection.
Yes.
So as he's experiencing that, our fidelity offers some consolation, reparation, atonement, and at the same time is the optimum example of joy and service, which pull more in. Mm-hmm. So it's really a mystical body win-win in that process. Mm-hmm.
It is. It's a mystically complete puzzle. And we are, at times in our lives, we have vision of various pieces of the puzzle. At this time, Jesus is giving us the whole puzzle for a look. And we can spend our time in prayer. It's like looking at the finished product. Wow, it all makes sense. And then you go back to your own little corner and do that little bitty work and ultimately understand that it's part of this big puzzle.
Right. And he promises great courage to sustain us in the mission. That means it's on him and sustained by him through the process. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks so much, Anne. Mm-hmm.